What does it really mean to be an atheist? Not just by dictionary definition, but as a lived reality. It's a question people usually answer too quickly. They say, "I don't believe in God," and move on. But that sentence, while simple, hides a whole world of thought, emotion, and personal history. Because atheism isn't one fixed position. It's not one philosophy or one mindset. It's more like a direction you walk in once belief no longer feels like truth. For some, it's a quiet decision. For others, it's a dramatic shift. Some arrived here through thought. Others through pain. But each version of atheism has its own shape, and its own story. Some people are atheists because religion just never made sense. They grew up hearing strange stories, burning bushes, talking snakes, forbidden fruits, and from the start, something about it felt off. Not dangerous. Not evil. Just odd. Like a dream that everyone else insisted was real. These people didn't need a crisis to reject belief. They just noticed how belief failed to answer any real questions. Others became atheists because religion let them down. Maybe they prayed during hard times and were met with silence. Maybe they followed the rules and still got hurt. These atheists often believed deeply once. But life challenged their belief more than doubt ever could. When nothing came to rescue them, they stopped asking for rescue. Some arrived here through books. Science, philosophy, history. They read enough to see the pattern. How gods always seem to match the fears and values of the cultures that invent them. How holy texts contradict each other. How miracles only happen in the past, or when no one's watching. They didn't lose faith. They outgrew it. And then there are atheists who didn't even know the word for what they were. They just knew they didn't believe, and never did. They lived in places where religion was more of a social habit than a deep commitment. It wasn't something they had to fight. It was something they could simply walk past. These atheists often seem the calmest. Not because they're better thinkers, but because they were never entangled in religion's promises. But not everyone is calm. Some atheists carry anger. Real anger. Not because they want to fight believers, but because of what belief has done to people they love. Women denied control over their bodies. Children taught they're sinful before they're old enough to speak. Wars started over which invisible God is more powerful. For these atheists, disbelief isn't just personal, it's political. There are those who reject God even if he did exist. They say, if there's a being who created this mess of a world, who allows famine, war, abuse, then he's not worthy of worship. This is moral rebellion, not doubt. It's not atheism born from lack of evidence. It's atheism born from principle. They don't ask whether God exists. They ask whether he should. And in that way, their disbelief is a kind of ethics. Some atheists joke about it. Humor becomes a shield and a sword. They laugh at the absurdity of an all-powerful God who's obsessed with what humans eat, wear, or do with their genitals. They joke not to mock believers, but to point out how strange the rules are when you really look at them. Laughter becomes a way to survive in a world that often still punishes non-belief. Others are quieter. They keep their atheism private, not because they're unsure, but because they know what speaking up can cost. In many countries, atheists can lose their jobs, their families, even their freedom. So they hide in plain sight. Not because they're weak, but because they have to be careful. Silence, for them, isn't consent, it's protection. There are also those who see religion as unnecessary, not evil. They say, I just don't need it. They live their lives with kindness, curiosity, and integrity, and don't feel like anything's missing. No divine being. No sacred book. No church, temple, or mosque. Just people, trying to be decent. For them, atheism isn't a crisis. It's just life. Some atheists treat disbelief like a doorway. On the other side, they explore meaning, morality, and connection on their own terms. They read philosophy, engage in science, reflect on consciousness and art. They aren't content to stop at I don't believe. They ask, what now? And that question leads to a deeper kind of freedom. Because once you step away from religion, you're responsible for your own life. There's no blueprint. No higher power guiding your decisions. That can be scary. But it's also empowering. You're free to define what's good. You're free to decide what matters. You're free to change your mind. And yes, some people still cling to the idea that without God, life has no meaning. But meaning doesn't come from the sky. It comes from love, friendship, beauty, struggle. Atheists find meaning in the same places everyone else does, except they know it's temporary. That gives it more weight, not less. There are atheists who walk away from religion and never look back. And there are atheists who still carry parts of it, the rituals, the holidays, the stories. Not because they believe, but because it connects them to family or culture. Atheism doesn't erase memory. It just reshapes it. Sometimes people say atheism is cold. That it's empty. But that's because religion taught them that warmth only comes from belief. In truth, atheism is filled with warmth. The warmth of knowing no one is judging your thoughts. The warmth of living by reason. The warmth of caring for others because it matters, not because you'll be rewarded. So which type of atheist are you? Are you the rational thinker, the ex-believer, the quiet skeptic, the rebellious critic, the philosophical seeker? Or maybe you're still figuring it out. That's okay too. Because atheism isn't a finish line. It's a process. A conversation. A journey toward truth, even if that truth is complicated. What unites all types of atheists is one thing: the courage to ask hard questions. The courage to say I don't know instead of pretending. The courage to live without a net and still keep going. You don't need a God to be good. You don't need a soul to feel joy. You don't need a heaven to live a meaningful life. You just need honesty, curiosity, and the freedom to think for yourself. And if you have that, you already have more than most religions ever offered. And maybe the most important part of all, you're not alone. In a world where religion still dominates so many aspects of life, from politics to education to personal identity, being an atheist can feel isolating. You might be the only one in your family. You might have lost friendships. You might avoid conversations just to keep the peace. That's real. But the isolation doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you're thinking for yourself. Today, more people than ever are stepping away from religion. Quietly. Gradually. Some publicly. Some privately. According to global surveys, irreligion is growing faster than any faith group. That doesn't mean the world is becoming heartless. It means people are starting to see that values, community, and meaning can exist without a sacred book. And once you see that, it's hard to unsee it. There's also a kind of peace that comes with atheism. Not a loud, triumphant kind, but a soft one. You stop waiting for signs. You stop feeling watched. You stop feeling guilty for thoughts you didn't choose. Instead of searching for purpose in ancient stories, you find it in small, real things. A walk with someone you love. Creating something. Helping a stranger. Laughing at nothing in particular. These moments don't need divine approval to be beautiful. They just are. And there's something refreshing about saying, I don't know. It's one of the most honest things a person can say. Religion often trades in certainty. Atheism, when it's mature, lets go of that. It accepts complexity. It lets you live with open questions. And it gives you the freedom to change your mind as you learn more. Some will say atheism is cynical. But that's not true. It's hopeful in a different way. It says, this world is all we have. Let's take care of it. It says, these lives are all we get. Let's not waste them. It's not waiting for the next life. It's showing up fully. Maybe you're the one who outgrew religion like a jacket that no longer fits. Maybe you're the one who never put it on to begin with. Maybe you fought your way out of belief after years of guilt and fear. Maybe you still hold on to some parts of it, traditions, language, memories, not because you believe, but because they shaped you. Or maybe you're not sure where you land. You don't feel religious, but you're still carrying the weight of belief. That's okay too. Let yourself evolve. Labels aren't the point. Clarity is. What matters is that you're willing to ask. Willing to think. Willing to look at the stories you were given and say, do these still make sense to me? That's where freedom begins. Not in having all the answers, but in knowing which questions matter. Atheism isn't a rejection of life. It's a commitment to it. A choice to face reality as it is, not as we wish it were. It's about finding awe in what's real, even if no one designed it. It's about building a life that doesn't need to be eternal to be meaningful. In a world full of noise, the quiet honesty of atheism is more radical than ever. Not because it shouts, but because it doesn't pretend.